Let's invite into the program now former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee, Fox News contributor Joe Concha on set here. Tonight's big breaking news, the illegal immigrant Texas mass shooter is now in custody tonight. Law enforcement officials now will be giving details any moment. When we get them, we'll bring them to you. Joe, I want to look at this from the media angle. All the liberal networks seem to want to ignore the fact that this involved an illegal immigrant that had left the country, had been deported 5 times, came back 5 times. He killed 5 innocent people in cold blood, including an 8-year-old child. They wanted to focus more on making this a gun issue. You've been watching the coverage. Why do they want to just completely ignore what is the law of the land? Now, Joe Biden may not agree with the law, but he's the president. He has the bully pulpit of the presidency. He can make the case, try and change laws, but he doesn't get to pick and choose which laws he wants to enforce and which he will not enforce.
Precisely. And let's say you made the suspect a white Texan guy who lives here in the country, and he happened to wear a red hat and he carried out this execution, including of I have a 7- and 9-year-old. You've met them. And the fact that this kind of got brushed under the carpet, right? I just looked at the 2 networks that are cable news networks. They call themselves cable news networks.
By the way,
and
they're fake news.
Yes, well, that's the term, certainly. And they're not talking about this. This should be a breaking story. This network on your show, we've blown out all commercials because it's that big of a story. They're not talking about it even.
Is it because of the illegal immigrant aspect of it? Is that why?
Precisely. And
they want open borders, and they have turned a blind eye to 6.5 million people entering our country illegally. Now, I'm not against immigration. I don't care where people come from. I would like a background check to know that they don't have radical associations.
Sure.
I would like a health check in the middle of a pandemic. I would like people to show that they're able to take care of themselves financially and won't be a burden on the American taxpayer because we can't afford it. Does anyone think that's unreasonable? I don't think so. Right? So
that's pragmatic. And we've seen this movie before. Do we remember the name Kate Steinle?
Yeah, I do.
San Francisco, young woman walking along the pier with her dad and gets shot by an illegal migrant to this country who was deported how many times? 5 times also, right? So these things do not have to happen. And you talked before about this, but it bears repeating. 182 people have been arrested who are on the FBI terror watch list coming into this country. Those are the ones that we know about. And remember what happened after 9/11? We kept going through this whole process of, like, how did we not connect the dots and stop this? The dots are right here. And if 1 or 2 of those cells carry this out, Sean, forget about it. You're talking about now 6.5 million people that have come to this country illegally. That's 9 times the population of Washington, D.C., or Denver, Colorado, or Boston, Massachusetts. Imagine that, 9 Washington.
Considering the magnitude of the influx of illegal immigrants and those people that get away, or gotaways as we call them, right, there is no doubt in my mind that there are terror cells in this country because of Joe Biden's wide open border policy. And one day, all of us will wake up to something that is horrible, that was unexpected, because terror cells are plotting, they're planning, they're scheming these attacks against us, and it all happened in large part because of open borders. Let me bring in Governor Huckabee. Governor, great to see you. Your take on all of this, sir.
I just think I want to quote a very effective political figure, Donald Trump, who said, "We simply cannot allow people to pour into the United States undetected, undocumented, unchecked, and circumventing the line of people who are waiting patiently, diligently, and lawfully to become immigrants in this country." And I think even Democrats would agree with that statement. But it really wasn't Donald Trump. That was Barack Obama who said that. And I just wish that some of the Democrats who are talking about MAGA Republicans would know that the guy who did this brutal execution shooting of a family, including an 8-year-old, for God's sake, was no MAGA Republican. You know, this is not something that happened because of MAGA Republicans. It happened because of a president who doesn't care what's happening at the border, and that president is Joe Biden. I wish he'd have listened to the man he used to work for, Barack Obama.
Governor, if I may remind you and this audience that on day one, Joe Biden executive order on immigration ended any border wall construction. It stopped Donald Trump immigration enforcement. It forced local governments to include illegals in the census, if you recall. It ended the passport restriction from violent countries that had Muslim extremists, and it fortified DACA. That was day one. This was the plan from day one. This was the executive order from day one.
Well, it was, and I just hope that AOC will hurry to the border so she can weep and talk about how terrible it is. I hope Joe Biden will have a news conference, and maybe he'll fly down and talk to that murdered family's relatives and comfort them or invite them to the White House.
They'll have to wait in line because he's never been to East Palestine, Governor.
It's an embarrassing thing, and my heart goes out to these innocent people who simply wanted a nice, peaceful evening for their child. And for that, a person who kept violating the laws of this country, we're going after people who walked into the Capitol using all those resources instead of arresting people who did this kind of evil crime near our nation's border.
Governor, we appreciate you being with us. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.